Yeah, that's why I think it's great, because it really automates so many processes that just makes it so much smoother, so you don't have to focus on that mundane actions. You can really just hone in and make sure that you show up prepared and ready for the interview, so you can continue doing the best job that you can, and then you can better support your guests and future guests as well, and just by creating the systems. I really think that um, once you make that decision to go from like a hobby, so like podcasting is just as a hobby, it's kind of like a form of art, but once you decide you want to start monetizing it and start making money with it, it becomes like a side hustle. And then in order for that side hustle to grow into a business, you need to start to develop these processes and these different structures so that it can move smoothly.
Today's episode of my podcast story, we have Rob Tracz, the passionate mind behind surviving the side hustle. Rob's podcast is dedicated to guiding entrepreneurs to look good, feel good, and do great things while avoiding the burnout that so often plagues driven business owners. With his background in exercise science and years as a performance coach, Rob brings a unique perspective to podcasting by blending physical wellness, mental clarity, and business success strategies. His approach of integrating the 6 core principles: resilience, intentionality, clarity, optimization, networking, and law creation has made his show a valuable resource for entrepreneurs at all stages. He's here to share his inspiring journey of creating a podcast that doesn't just talk about success, but provides a holistic roadmap to achieving it, all while helping his listeners break through stagnation to find sustainable growth in both their personal and professional lives. Tell me your name and what you do.
Yeah, what's going on? My name is Rob Tracz. I'm a high performance coach, host of Surviving the Side Hustle podcast, and a professional speaker.
Okay. How long have you been doing the podcast for?
I have been recording episodes since May of 2023.
Okay, May of 2023. So that's 2023,
Just over 2 years.
Yeah, over 2 years. Well, congrats on such progress.
Thank you. Yeah, we actually just recorded our 100th episode last week.
Wow. That's a huge milestone, getting to 100.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, is the podcast audio only or audio and video?
It's audio and video.
Okay, video was it from the start, or it was along the way you added it?
It's always been audio and video, but I hadn't been uploading the video to like YouTube or anything until relatively recently. So all the episodes have the audio on like iTunes and Spotify, but YouTube now has a couple of the full episodes on with the video.
Okay. So how's the YouTube doing?
So far so good. We've only got a handful of episodes on there, so we're kind of getting into the realm of that whole area.
Okay. Well, yeah, getting into the realm of that whole area. Okay. What was the inspiration that led you to start the podcast?
Yeah, it was one of my mentors, actually. He was actually a personal brand strategist, and he was really leaning me into creating a podcast, not only for myself and my own personal brand, but to bring in other entrepreneurs and side hustlers. So the show itself is called Surviving the Side Hustle, and each episode I interview a different guest, and they're some sort of journey. They're on some sort of situation of their journey. So some sort of entrepreneurial or side hustle or small business owner. And each episode, we really dive into their story, what got them to their struggles, the challenges and setbacks that they're going through, and then also their secrets to performing at a high level with their business.
Oh, okay. Quickly before we go into the technicalities of the podcast and all that, how's the experience been for you so far for the past 2 years you started the podcast?
Yeah, it's been an incredible experience. To be honest, it started off a little shaky. I was really nervous in the beginning, interviewing people and connecting with other individuals. And as I've continued to get better at getting interviewed and interviewing others, I could just see that the quality of each episode just continues to get better and better. And it's great tool to connect with awesome people like yourself and a lot of other people from around the world, being able to connect and collaborate on content and really create some resources for other entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, or side hustlers. And hopefully they can really relate to the stories and the different guests, and also get inspired and learn too from other people, so that they might not have the same setbacks.
Yeah, yeah. Now that you've done the podcast, and huge congratulations to you on reaching the 100 episodes. I mean, that's a milestone a lot of persons never even get close to. And hopefully you get to 1,000 episodes.
I can't wait.
Yeah. I don't know when that will be, but eventually we'll get there.
Yeah.
Could you walk me through how your podcast gets made in terms of, from idea, the tools you use, how you record, and, editing and all that down to publishing?
Yeah, so recording and everything, I use software Riverside, what we're currently recording on here, and it's such a great tool because it allows you to edit everything. It has AI for magic clips to create little mini social media clips, and it really allows you to kind of edit exactly how you want. So if you want to plug in music, or if you want to use intros, or if you want to put commercials in, it allows you to separate the different tracks. And I really like Riverside compared to typical softwares like Zoom, because Riverside allows you to record on both of the devices. So in case if there's any poor communication or anything, it'll help smooth out the audio tracks and make sure that everything is running efficiently. And also using softwares like Podmatch to connect with other really cool hosts and guests. And then obviously using social media like Instagram and LinkedIn to connect with other great entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and business owners, because LinkedIn tends to be a little bit more of the professional setting on social media.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what do you use to book the meetings?
So I used to use Calendly. Are you familiar with Calendly? Yeah, so I was using Calendly, and then one of my mentors had introduced to me a software called Keep, Keap, and that's really a great tool for marketing automation, and it's like a CRM. So I have individuals who are interested in guesting on my show. They fill out a quick intake form with a couple questions just so I can familiarize myself with them. And then they get entered into the software as a contact. And then there's automated emails that get sent out, and there's follow-up emails. And immediately after you complete or submit the intake form, you get redirected to a scheduling link. And scheduling link is still the same. It's in Keep, and it's the same thing as Calendly. So it allows you to connect with your calendar, and the guest can choose whichever day and time works best for them. And then after they book that, they get a follow-up text, they get a follow-up email, and then there's messages, and then even follow-up after we record, so that they can then see the access, and they can like and review the podcast themselves.
You collect phone numbers from your guests?
Yeah, if they want to, if they're interested in sharing that, so they can get a reminder.
Yeah, I'm thinking because the only reason I'm thinking of getting numbers is because sometimes guests forget, right? Stuff just comes up, and I want to, like, I could send them an email, but then that takes it takes forever, and eventually when they find the email, it's the time has elapsed. And so having a number, I'm thinking I could get a number so that, but it's just that my no-show rate is not that high, so that getting a number doesn't really matter. I don't know if it makes sense, right? Right now, I think I should do the math and see how many guests show up and how many guests doesn't show up. But it's like, I know that the show rate is like 98% or more, right? So it doesn't really matter to start collecting numbers. If I was having, let's say maybe 60%, then I would say, oh, I should start collecting numbers such that I can push it down to like 98%, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be a problem to just do it anyways. Like, you could just kind of add it on and have it on a form just in case. And what I started also asking is for social media tags too. So if the guest has an Instagram or a LinkedIn, because then that makes it easier for me to share the content, and then they can reshare the content down the road.
Yeah. I like that idea. For me, what I've been thinking of doing recently is I've been thinking of adding a form, right? Before the guest, like while the guest is booking, and get the guest to select if they were willing to share the episode if I make marketing materials for them, right?
Yeah.
Now, no, this context is different because there's number one way I send you the link, because I do that normally if I release episodes. But then if I go out of my way to make marketing materials, like I make Instagram reels, clips and all that. I do code graphics. I do all this text and stuff like that, and then I package it and say you can use it as content to post on your own platforms and social. It would be nice if like mention me, tag me, and say, yeah, mention my name and stuff like that. Link to me. That would be nice, but you don't have to, right? And so, but what I would want, it would be, if they say they are willing to share, then it will be worth the work, because I don't want to spend time creating marketing materials and then, the guests like, I didn't really ask you for that.
Yeah. Well, that's why I love Riverside, because it creates those magic clips for you. So then you have those already prepared for you. Then I just export that to my phone or to my computer, and then I have Canva templates. Are you familiar with Canva?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Canva.
Yeah, so I just have a couple different templates that are pretty. I've got like probably 8 of them, so I can like revolve around them. I don't use the same 2 every time. But then I upload the photo, or I upload the magic clip from Riverside onto social media, and then I just put the Canva template with their face and their quotes and all that stuff onto it. And it's just a quick, easy thing. Usually takes me about 15 minutes after each episode that I record. So I set the recording time for about 45 minutes. And most of my episodes are about 30 to 35 minutes, and then that gives me about 20 minutes to prepare all of the social media clips, and everything is set and done within an hour.
Oh, okay. That's nice. That's nice. Now you mentioned you use Keep, and I've heard of the name before, but I think now I'd have to go investigate and see if, because most of the features you mentioned, the software I'm using has it, but that CRM, it doesn't have a CRM, right? Where I can have a list, kind of like a database of all my past guests, and I can do what I want to do with that database. But it sends follow up, it sends confirmation, it does every other thing. It doesn't have a database, right? So it should be nice to have that too.
Yeah, it's really helpful, because if I have somebody who's interested in looking for other guests, I can just put out a email broadcast, and it says, thank you again for guesting on my show. I have a good friend of mine who's interested in having some new guests on. If you're interested, please reply to this, and then I can get them connected. And it's all about like creating more impact and helping other individuals as well. So that, and then also you can even do follow-up marketing material. Like, hey, make sure you go and double check out this, and would love it if you could leave a review on the podcast, and you can always send it out to everybody who's been on the show.
Oh, that's brilliant. Now, does Keep allow you to just automate the process, and then you put in the email, right? And then it just auto populates to the guest name and all that, and sends out the email? Or do you have to send the email one by one?
Nope, it uses those. So it'll just be like it'll broadcast out to 100, 150 people, however many people you have on your email list. You can sort it by tags. So like you can just do people who are hosts, or you can have people who are just guests. You could do it for a lot of different things, and you can send it specifically to types of people, and then you can have it custom fit for them. So as long as they put in their name into the intake forms, then it'll populate with their names.
Oh, that's brilliant. I should check out that too, because I've been thinking of, how do I send messages and broadcast messages to my guests, right? Asking for review, keeping in touch and stuff like that. But when like right now you've done 100 episodes, and you might want to reach out to all your past guests and maybe say, oh, the podcast is 2 years now, and I'm glad that you showed up on the podcast when we were still just starting out and all that. And I think if it's 5 persons, it's easy, but trying to do that for 100 persons, man, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, does the tool Keep? Does it allow us to import our own data into the tool? Right. Let's say you already have the data, but you want to just import it into the Keep.
Well, what kind of data are you talking about?
Let's say for example, now I'm already using the scheduling software where I collect the names and some of the details of the guest, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, since I'm using Keep, I might as well just migrate some of all this data, so that I don't have to when I want to send messages to the back catalog of people I recorded interviews with before I start using Keep, I can do that. So that's what I mean when I say import.
Yeah, so there's a super easy system that they have where you can just export from your current software and then you can import onto the Keep. And if you have a really large database, like talking like hundreds of thousands of people, they have like a special team that'll help you move them all over.
Ooh, huh. I mean, after this interview, that's I need to go watch out a review and a breakdown of the tool and all that, and see how I can integrate it. Because I'm always looking up, as indie podcasters, one of the things we don't have is, you know, one we have scarce resources in terms of time and money and all that. And so I'm always asking myself, what are the things that are repetitive, boring, that I can just automate, so I can have time for the things that that are important. Speaking to a guest, recording an episode.
Yeah, that's why I think it's great because it really automates so many processes that just makes it so much smoother so you don't have to focus on that mundane actions. You can really just hone in and make sure that you show up prepared and ready for the interview so you can continue doing the best job that you can, and then you can better support your guests and future guests as well, and just by creating the systems. I really think that um, once you make that decision to go from like a hobby, so like podcasting is just as a hobby, it's kind of like a form of art, but once you decide you want to start monetizing it and start making money with it, it becomes like a side hustle. And then in order for that side hustle to grow into a business, you need to start to develop these processes and these different structures so that it can move smoothly, because eventually you want to be able to remove yourself from the situation and it still be able to run smoothly. Like maybe one day I end up hiring a co-host, and then me and my co-host are interviewing everybody. But then once the systems are all in place, then I could just step back, and then Survive and Side Hustle will continue to grow and develop, and
Yeah.
I don't even need to be involved.
Yeah, that's really brilliant. Like, because a lot of persons, if once they pause, the business pause. Once they move, the business move. If they stop, the business stops, and that's not exactly a very nice place to be.
Yeah. So then your hands off, and it's still making money and still making great content. It's pretty valuable to a lot of people, and it just keeps going.
Yeah. Other than thank you for sharing Keep with us. Other than Keep, what other tool would you say is like kind of like your Swiss Army knife in terms of podcasting that really helps you turn that you know you don't usually share it with other persons, but you know for the sake of this conversation, you share it with me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I love ClickUp. Are you familiar with ClickUp?
Yeah. I love ClickUp.
Yeah,
I know ClickUp, but I like Notion.
yeah. So I've been using ClickUp a lot, and I think I like it because it's very, very customizable, and it helps me making sure that I have everything all squared up, because each episode, there's a lot of things that go into it, right? So you have the episode itself. I got to upload it to Buzzsprout so that it gets out to iTunes and Spotify and everything else. Then I've got like the blog post I got to upload to YouTube. I got to create the social media clips, and then I got to put the templates. I got to put the guests on all the templates. I got to put the quotes on the templates, and then I got to schedule all the social media posts. I got to then send out confirmations once the episode is live to the guest. And so there's like a long list of things that need to.
Hey, just a quick break. If you enjoying the insights so far and want even more behind the scenes ideas, inspiration, and tools for growing your own podcast, join my email list at mypodcaststory.com/join. That is mypodcaststory.com/join. You get access to helpful resources, exclusive updates, and the kind of stuff I only share with my email subscribers. Whether you're starting out or already podcasting, there's something valuable waiting for you. Head over to mypodcaststory.com/join and subscribe. Now, back to the episode.
Happen. And the more complicated that it becomes, or the more better, or I guess the better or more advanced that I'm trying to make the podcast, there's a lot more tasks involved. And instead of me just remembering like, oh, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this, I've got it all set up as a template in ClickUp. So each new guest, it just kind of fills it in, and then it moves nice and smoothly. Like I said earlier, it takes me about an hour to prepare an episode. That's including recording and the editing and then the uploading and getting it ready to roll.
Oh. Okay. So ClickUp is for project management, organizing, and making sure that everything is one coherent piece and not just scattered away like, oh, I totally forgot I was supposed to add a link to that episode. Oh yeah, and everything is just scattered all across the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
ClickUp helps solve that.
thanks for sharing that. Your podcast is called Surviving Side Hustle.
Yes, surviving the side hustle.
Okay, Surviving the Side Hustle. And so the question next is, does your podcast make money?
Not directly. So I don't have any ads that pay me off the bat, but having ad space on the podcast helps generate new leads and potential leads down the road. So as soon as the episode starts off, there's a little intro, there's a little bit of an ad space for people if they're interested to book a free call with me for coaching. And then about halfway through, there's another ad. And then at the very last, third, there's one more ad for a lead magnet. So if somebody's interested in getting the side hustle survival kit, then you just go to survivingthesidehustle.com/kit, KIT. And then if anybody's listening, they can just go there. They can download it. It's a free resource that helps them build a better business and systems and really show up as the best version of yourself. And once the listener books that, then they get into my system with Keep, and then they get automated emails that have videos that I pre-recorded and send to people that gives them more tips and more information. And every email and every piece of content that I send out always has a call to action to book a new call to connect with me. So then when they do hop on the call with me, that's when it becomes, it's a discovery call to figure out if they'd be a good fit. And then if they are, then we work together, and then that's how you start to make money. So it's not a direct source of income, but it does help generate more income for my coaching business.
Yeah, and the question now is, what's the response of the listeners of the podcast to getting your offer, to subscribing to your email list and all that?
What is the what?
Response.
It's pretty slow, and I haven't had a systems kind of connecting things. So this whole software Keep is something that I've literally just been implementing about a week ago, or now we're about 2 weeks in.
Okay.
So it's going slow, but also I haven't really used it. So I've only had 2 episodes launch since I started using the software. So I'm interested to see. I'm excited because I think it's going to be a very powerful tool, partnering up the podcasting and Keep and everything else. So hopefully it should move pretty smoothly.
Okay. I'll be excited to know how it goes maybe 2, 3, 6 months from now.
Yeah, episode 200, we'll see.
episode 200 will be next. Would that be this year or next year?
That'll be next year. I'm contemplating because right now I'm only releasing 1 episode a week. So that gives me plenty of time to outbound reach and kind of connect and still do everything else that I do. But I'm considering potentially stepping up and producing 2 episodes a week now. Not necessarily interviewing more people, but maybe interviewing somebody on 1 episode and then giving a recap of that episode. So then I have 2 episodes coming out, 1 that's solo, just me, and then 1 with the guest.
Yeah, I mean, for most of the task, right? This is me just thinking, because right now I'm thinking of, because I have a multiple podcasts. I'm thinking of how I can create a coherent a system, which is what I'm working on. And then the other thing is get someone on the team to help with those tasks, like uploading the file, right? Adding the description, the regular links that goes on every episode, the links of the call to action of the guest mentioned, all those tasks. These are things that there's no special creative thing that is needed to do that stuff. So I might as well just get someone to handle all those things for me. And now I have time. So maybe I could, because I know the editing will be more expensive, I could focus on just editing the episode. And once the episode is live, maybe I upload it to a Google Drive, and they take over with every other thing. They upload to YouTube, they optimize everything, change the templates and everything. What I've been thinking is I could do an arbitrage, because I'm opportune to be I'm calling from Nigeria, and I'm opportune to hire someone from Nigeria, and of course pay them. It won't be as expensive as if I try to hire someone from US, right? Yeah, you're like, no, you have to pay me certain number of dollars per hour, and I'm like, really? No. So I get the arbitrage where I can pay them. I think, okay, right now I'm thinking if I should pay someone $200 in a month, it will cover all these deals, all these uploads, and it will really be it will be a really robust salary for the work. Now, and this is me coming from someone who lives in Nigeria. I know what $200, what it's worth in, when you convert it to local currency. So it's a really good job. Anyone that has that kind of job is yeah, they're doing really well. right? And yeah, so that's what I've been thinking of, like arbitrage, so that I can focus on these other things. I can have some time to like, because if you're always in the podcast, there's no time to actually sit down and say, okay, well, what do I need to do? Oh, I need to add a lead magnet so that people can take the next step and then join my stuff. Because now you're like, oh, you record, you edit, you record. So there's really no time to step back and say, okay, what's the next step? What's the marketing strategy are we going to use for the podcast? And what's the next thing to do?
Well, so do you utilize ChatGPT at all?
Yeah, I use ChatGPT. Yeah, I use
Yeah,
ChatGPT.
because if you have your guests filling out an intake form, you can kind of, what I usually do is I ask them which kind of like principle of my coaching practice do they feel mostly aligned with. And so then they share a little bit about that, and then that goes into my system, and then I know, okay, that I need to release this episode during this time because that's what the whole theme of my marketing is going to be around. But like the intake form, I ask a bunch of questions, you put in the links, so then when the intake form comes, you just copy and paste the link into the show notes and stuff. And then also, like, as soon as the episode is recorded, you can just copy the transcript from Riverside, and then you can upload that into ChatGPT, and you can ask it for the title, you can ask it for all that stuff if you don't use Buzzsprout, which does a lot of that stuff for you.
Yeah, yeah. So I use is Castmagic. I don't know if you know of Castmagic.
But no, I don't use that one. I've never
Oh
heard of
yeah.
that one.
Okay, so what it does is it's basically it's a wrapper around ChatGPT. So I upload the audio version of the episode, and I have already added custom prompts of things I want it to generate. And so when I just click on generate, instead of pasting the prompts every time and every time again, it generates it. And the thing I like about it is that unlike my normal ChatGPT account, which I would have to get a team member access and all that, I can add people to my Castmagic account to say, okay, once an episode is released and uploaded, they can go in and help me copy and paste. I know as much as I'm like, oh, copy and paste is not really a big deal, but that stuff is work. Especially if
Yeah.
you're doing a number of stuff, right? You have to copy, you have to paste, right? I can add a member of my team so they can go in. Once the episode is uploaded, they generate stuff, right? So what I would basically do is spend a really good amount of time, work on the prompt, test the prompt, and then of course train the members of the team on, oh, this is what we want to look at. And sometimes if this happens, do this, and this happens, do this. And so they go, they generate it, and then they copy and they paste it and they upload it and do those things. So that's what I use for mine now.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Pretty efficient.
Yeah. I like the fact that you collect the details from the guest, and so when it's time to like add the links and the call to action, you can just copy and paste it.
Yeah, it makes it really easy. Then if you just, because if you're using like a Google form or something, then it just uploads it right to your drive, and then your team member can even just take it from there.
Yeah. Because I think recently what I've been thinking is that podcasting is in three steps, right? Is in three major stages. Of course, there are more, but there is consistency, and then with consistency comes growth, and then with growth comes monetization, right? So like the bedrock of every other thing is built on consistency. Like you can't grow if you're not releasing, like if you're not consistent with the podcast, and you can't monetize the podcast if you only released the podcast like last 3 years and you've not been
Yeah.
consistent with it, right? So you like the first thing that has to be consistent is you have to be consistent. I am using the word consistent so much. And in order to be consistent, you need a system, right? To keep releasing an episode every week, every right, depending on the schedule you've chosen. And once that has been set and in place, right, you have a team, everything is working, and you don't have to like go out of your way, do something special to produce that. It's easy. It's part of the flow. You can then have time to focus on how do I grow the podcast? How do I monetize it and all that? Because most times people try to focus on how do I monetize? How do I grow the podcast? And the consistency part has not been dialed in yet.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what happens. They chasing after the money way too soon before the system, the idea, like everything is done. People are like, "Oh yeah, let me just start a podcast," but then they don't have a theme. They don't have like the structure. They don't know the problem that the podcast solves. They don't know like what makes their podcast unique, and they just think like, "Okay, let me just record any kind of mumbo jumbo, and then people will have to start paying me." But it doesn't
Yeah.
work that way.
Yeah. Now that earlier on we mentioned ChatGPT, are there any special AI use cases you use for your podcast? In my, anything you like to share that that you saw that's a really crazy good idea that you've been using for your podcast in terms of AI?
I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of the different softwares that I use already incorporate AI some way or another, like Riverside with the magic clips and the editing and like the B reel and things like that. So I don't really use ChatGPT too much anymore. I guess now, so what I use it for the most is for like email funnels and different strategies for the automation with Keep. So like, okay, well, how long should I wait to send a follow-up email, or when should I do this, or what kind of script should I say for this, for the recap of this episode? So like, if I wanted to recap our episode, I would upload the transcript right into ChatGPT and just ask it to give me a script, and then I'd put into the teleprompter, and then you can kind of just read it as you're going through it. I think that's probably the most useful that I use in like AI now.
Do you have a teleprompter?
I don't like not on here, but like there is one on Riverside, and there is one for like this app that I use called Captions, where when you're recording like social media.
Yeah, because the issue I have with Riverside is that there is a teleprompter in Riverside, but I noticed that every time I record, for some reason, like my eyes, it's not always connected to the camera. So I'm looking for like, a really good teleprompter that, it's designed in a way that, but when I look at the teleprompter, I am actually looking at the camera. So I don't have to like ask myself, well, how do I position myself so that it doesn't look like I'm looking to read something. I don't know if you understand. So I'm just looking at the teleprompter, reading it, and I'm making perfect eye contact.
Well, so now Riverside has that feature, so it can correct your eyes. So it looks like
that stuff is
looks like you're
weird.
staring.
Yeah, I tried it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no. It was just to like the way. No. That stuff.
Is
I
it
don't
weird?
know.
I just saw the email. I haven't checked it out yet.
Oh no, you should try. Like it's like you see the way the eyeballs, like it's forced, and I'm like, no. I'm like, because the thing is that once you toggle the feature, what I noticed that you can't like, sometimes normally in a normal conversation, it's not every time you make eye contact. Sometimes you like, you just bring down, and you're like, okay, yeah. But this time, once you toggle the feature on, it's like, and I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like, no. Let's just forget about the eye contact and let's stick with the podcast for now. Maybe later in the future we'll work on the production, because I've noticed that as much as possible, if you can get tools that help you have the production process really, really good, it saves you a ton of time, a ton of money in terms of post production.
Well, so what do you use for your camera?
Right now, I'm using my mobile phone.
Yeah, so if you use the teleprompter on the phone, so like, do you use the teleprompter on your computer monitor?
Yeah, that's true. I noticed that if I use the teleprompter on my phone, I get better eye contact because right now I'm looking at the screen of the phone, but when the teleprompter is where the feature of the teleprompter is at the side where the top camera is, right? And so because I'm looking at this side to read the teleprompter, which is where the camera is, I'm always making perfect eye contact. So that, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But on the laptop, because it's on the screen and the webcam is at the top, I'm trying to like read the stuff and then go down and read and follow the stuff. And so what would happen is that I'm not making that eye contact. And yeah, so you see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, you just gotta set the speed a little bit faster so it goes a little faster up for you, so you're just constantly looking at the top of the screen.
Yeah, but I don't want, like, I wish Riverside had a feature where it will move according to your voice. Like I've seen other apps that have that feature, right, on mobile phone.
Yeah.
So
that is
what
cool.
will happen is that if while I'm reading the teleprompter, I decide to go off script, it won't move, right? Let's say there's a section I feel like I just want to add my story, right? It's not in the scripts, but I want to add my own story. And I'm like, oh yeah, this reminds me of something. And then after I finish telling the story, I will continue reading from where I left off, and then it will keep on moving.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah, that would be pretty sweet.
But the issue I have now is that app that does that feature, I don't want to use because this is it. On my mobile phone, right? If I was to use the feature, if let's say I put it on my screen, because my, what do you call it now? My phone has this multi-app feature where I can put multiple apps on the screen and they can all be working at the same time. If I put that stuff on my camera screen, once I turn on the camera, for some reason, that app can no longer access the camera. So it can no longer access my audio, my microphone, right? So my camera app will be the one that will be using the microphone, which makes sense since I'm recording. So it can no longer detect my audio to move or change accordingly.
Oh man, that sucks. That's like terrible.
Yeah, and I
Oh,
mean,
that's so
I
annoying.
could try using the teleprompter has built-in um um camera recording features. I could try using it, but it doesn't have those customization features like the regular open camera app on my phone. I mean, it could be a trade-off. I could use it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's just a new challenge for you to overcome.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing your workflow and sharing the AI and yeah, and how you're integrating everything to make money and with the podcast and all that. And usually I'd ask out of off the top of your head, not including the work hours you spend on the podcast, of course, just the tools, the apps, the softwares, and all that. How much would you say it costs to get the podcast up and running every month?
Yeah, it's a good question. So are you asking what do I spend, or is it like what would it take at the minimum?
No. What you spend? Like you're an indie
Mhm.
podcaster, so most of the labor task you're doing it yourself, right? So
Yeah.
we're not gonna account for that cost. What we account for is the actual money you spend right now for the podcast.
Yeah, probably like $100, I guess, maybe between the couple different softwares.
Okay, $100. Wow, oh, that's about $1,000 dollars in a year. And yeah, yeah. When you put it that way, yeah. And putting it that way, it gets to a point where you start asking yourself, what would the podcast would necessarily need to do in order for me to say that this cost has been recuperated, so kind of.
Yeah. Well, so like you got to kind of figure that out. Like you got to know what you're doing with the podcast for, because like I'm doing it not necessarily to make money off of it directly, but like if I find one client from doing podcasting that pays for a decent multiple months for me. So
Okay, okay. When you say clients, well, what do you? Now, I want us to get into the details of the podcast. When you say clients, what services are you offering to the clients, to your clients?
high performance coaching. So helping kind of get unstuck different individuals with their businesses and kind of feeling stuck or isolated or just low energy and struggling to kind of get to that next level with their professional life. So when people who are listening to the podcast that I'm on, usually they're like entrepreneurs or business owners, or they've got some sort of project that they're working on. And if they are the individual who is kind of stuck or slow progressing, I have a lot of tips and tricks and coaching that helps them kind of level up to the next stage.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. The podcast you mentioned you do interviews, right? And you say it's surviving the side also. And I'm guessing the podcast is about side also.
Well, the podcast itself is about the guest. So every episode is slightly a little bit different, but each guest, like I was saying earlier, they share their story. How did they get to what they're doing? Who it is that they are? What is the problem that they're solving in the world? And who are they helping, kind of thing. And then we get into some of their struggles. So what were some challenges that they went through to get to where they're at currently? Or maybe they're going through new challenges. So for example, like if you were on my show, we would be talking about the podcasting and how now one of the challenges that you're at is that you need systems to automate, and how you've been doing a thing a certain way, and now that things are starting to grow and get a little bit bigger, there are new challenges and new systems and processes that you need to work through. And then at the end, you share a little bit about your tips and your tricks that help you show up at a high level. And then for you, however, whatever yours might be, I do this, and that. I use the software, I use that, whatever helps. And then we wrap it up with a little promo. Most people got something that they were looking to kind of promote. So if you were on my show, you would be sharing about, hey, I got these great podcasts. I'd love people to come and check them out. That sends more people over to your channel and connect with you.
Okay. Because when I had side hustle, so everybody gets to share their own story of whatever their side hustle might be, or I mean, it's not necessarily side hustle, main hustle, or whatever the hustle might be, and they share their story, how they got into it, and all that, and then share some tips and tricks, and so people get different ideas, and then now you're thinking of doing recaps, right? And so you get to recap, so more like bonus, shorter episode, but of the longer episodes.
Yeah, so it would be a shorter form episode recapping the conversation that I had with a previous guest, and also how I would plan to use the information that I learned in my business and how others might benefit from it as well.
Well, so more like actionable steps, so people can have really things, something they can do immediately, not necessarily next year or next 2 years, but right
Yeah.
now. No,
Yep.
that's nice. That's brilliant. I like that concept. Okay. So looking at the podcast now, what would you say are the three growth levers that has really grown your podcast?
3 good levels.
Growth growth levers.
Yeah. So I think in the beginning, it was just kind of getting it out the gate. And one of my friends has a pretty successful podcast, and he was telling me that most podcasts don't make it past episode 7. And he said that a lot of people start podcasts and then they fall off. So when I first started out, I recorded 10 and I released all 10 right off the bat. So that 10 got me there, and I had a party to launch it. So I brought everybody together. I got a room full of like 50 people, and when you walked in, you scanned this QR code and it brought you to the podcast. So you downloaded, you subscribed it, and you left a review. And at the end of the party, so I did all that, and then I recorded a live episode at the party. So people were there, they got to experience it, they got to see some of the interview. And then at the end of the party, I did raffles for like one random review, one random listener, one person who was at the party. And I had sponsors donating different things. So that incentivized a bunch of people to come in, subscribe right off the bat, download all 10 of the new episodes. So that jumped up. So like if I had 5 people, if I had 50 people there downloading 10 episodes, that's 500 downloads right off the bat. And then I started releasing them week after week after week. So that really, at the beginning stage, I had that, and then it jumped up pretty quickly because of that party that I had in the beginning. Then I started producing and then reaching out and getting more content. So it was the initial launch, then the midway, kind of what I've been doing for the past year or so.
Yeah.
Yep, consistency. And then I just did the 100th episode party. So then that was a great opportunity to get more people in to download and subscribe. And now I'm bringing out the recap episodes in probably next week or so.
Oh, that's brilliant. I like that. I like that idea. I like the concept of it. I mean, that could be something we could do virtually, but if not physically.
Yeah.
Do the meeting together, have really fantastic prizes for different participants, and gets the word out for the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for sharing that idea. And are there any growth opportunities you've been noticing or considering recently?
Yeah, I've been harping a whole lot. I feel like Keep should give me some sort of kickback for how much advertising I'm giving them, but I really think that the software Keep has been a game changer, and I'm really looking forward to utilizing it to the fullest to kind of help bring my business and my podcast up to the next level. Yeah, sure. So one growth opportunity, an area that I've been really excited about working on, is utilizing the Keep software. I know I've been talking about it a whole lot on this episode, and it's a shame that they don't pay me because of all the free advertising that I'm giving them. But I do think it is a game changer, and I think it's going to help level up my business and my podcast to the next level.
Yeah. I mean, if you can save time, right? If you can save time, and yeah, that's true. Now that I'm even looking at Keeper, I've noticed one thing about podcasters, and I feel like it's a very low bar, right? Low bar opportunity, and that is the moment an episode is released, that is the end of the episode, and that is usually the end of the relationship with the guest. And usually, these guests are like pretty much amazing when they show up, but that's just the end of it. Okay, yeah, I saw the link. I was like, okay, I hope no network issues. Yeah. Thanks for dropping in the link. So I'm like, now I've been thinking, I'm like, okay, how can I continue the relationship even after the episode is released? How can I, like, maybe 3 months after the episode has been released? And now it's a good thing you shared with me this software, because now I can think of ways to customize and put certain things in there, so that maybe 3 months after a guest episode is released, I'm like, hi, congratulations. On so day, the last 90 days, we were opportunity to release to record an episode and create Castmagic. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. It really means a lot to me. And we send that email. Now, I don't think a lot of podcasters are doing that, because they are trying to be consistent, and then you're trying to, like, that stuff is not important. But it's stuff is that it's different, and so people pay attention to the stuff that is different, right? You're like, yeah, The guy sent me 3 months after. I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then you can also explore relationship and say, I'm looking for a guest on, I'm doing this episode. I'm looking for a guest about this. Do you know anyone you can recommend? And yeah, sure. Because now they've been on your episode. They see the questions you ask and they know you, they like you and maybe trust you. And so they recommend someone. And then you mentioned earlier about asking people to give you a review on Apple, Spotify, and platforms like that. And that really goes a long way to like help the podcast and support the podcast. What I've been I'm thinking of, right, is I'm so happy you shared Keep Software, so I'll integrate that. Is I want to have a full system where when a guest comes on the podcast, we can collaborate, because I feel like we're not really collaborating. What we're just doing is, the guest comes and shares the information, and I interview them, which is great, which is nice, but I feel like they create so much value that my audience would benefit and their audience will benefit. So they don't have to go out of their way to say, okay, yeah, I've been on podcast, I should create content. No, I can create really valuable snippets and package for them and just give it to them. And of course, I'll watermark it with my podcast logo, names, and all that. It makes sense. I should be able to do that, and they can share it and put it out there. And people are like, yeah, my podcast story. Yeah, that's a brilliant stuff. And then it also makes them look good, and I can do that. Wow. And yeah, that's an underutilized good opportunity I've noticed, and that is guests. And I'm not talking about high profile guests. Like, I mean, even if a guest comes and they have just 10 loyal fans, right? That maybe one of them will convert to your podcast. And if you keep doing that with all the guests, before you know, you eventually you have your own audience too. You get in front of people. And yeah, I can't wait to work on that and start sharing the results of what that seemed like.
Yeah, it's a fun journey. It's a good game to kind of keep going and seeing if you can connect with more people. And like anything in life, right? It's a journey. It's a process. It takes time.
Yeah. What advice do you wish someone gave to you 2 years before you started your podcast? And
Yeah, I think I wish somebody would have helped me get started earlier. Because I've been listening to podcasts for almost 10 years now, and I've only been recording podcasts for about 2 years. The barrier for entry, as we were talking about earlier, is so much lower. Like, it's pretty easy to just start a podcast, and it doesn't need to be spectacular or magical. It could just be something as simple as recording on Zoom, or not even on Zoom. You can, like, if you want to get really nitty gritty, and like, you just take your phone and just record into the phone, just speaking into it, record that, you can upload that and get it going. Solo interviews for a while, and then you can get it moving. So the barrier for entry is super low. And if you're ever interested in starting a podcast, just get going on it.
yeah, thanks for sharing that with us, Rob. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks for sharing with me your insider secrets and tips and some of the things in your toolbox. And I'm glad we had this conversation.
Yeah, me too, man. I appreciate it. Good to talk with
Yeah.
you.
If people want to learn more about your podcast and your high performance coaching, where can they do that?
Yeah, the easiest places to find me is on social media at Instagram and LinkedIn. You can find me just by searching my name and checking out the podcast at survivingthesidehustle.com.
Well, once again, thank you so much for being an amazing guest on the podcast. And I can't wait to start implementing some of the ideas, and then later on I could maybe share some of the results and say, yeah, Rob, I tried this stuff you talk about on the podcast. This is what's happening. And yeah, brilliant.
I can't wait.
That's it for today's episode of my podcast story. I am Wisdom Okonkwo, and I hope this conversation sparked new ideas and gave you a deeper look into the heart of podcasting. If you've loved this episode, consider supporting the show by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/wisdomhq. Every bit helps keep the stories going. And hey, don't forget to follow, rate, and share this podcast with another podcaster or creator who would find it helpful. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.